Today we'll be discussing the MVP races from the AL to NL and possible players that will win it or just contenders. The first player on this list is Phillies pitcher Zack Wheeler. He has a 1.57 ERA plus, which is 57% better than the average pitcher. He has an ERA of 2.56, a walks hits inning pitched of .988, a FIP of 2.57, and leads the MLB with 187 strikeouts. He also has 6 WAR. The next player on this list is the Dodgers' own Walker Bueller. He has an ERA plus of 1.87, which is 87% better than the average pitcher. He leads the MLB in ERA in 2.09 and has a WHIP of .938. His FIP is 3.13, which means he's exceeding his expected ERA. He has 162 strikeouts and a 5.4 WAR. The third player on this list is Corbin from the Milwaukee Brewers. He has a 1.96 ERA plus, which is 96% better than the average pitcher, which leads the MLB. He has an ERA of 2.13 and a WHIP of .913, a FIP of 1.59, which means he still can get better. He has 175 strikeouts and a 4.6 WAR. The next player on this list is a surprising one, as he's already won an MVP, but has fallen off since then, and is having a resurgent season this year. He has an OPS plus of 157 in a few plate appearances, though. His name, Buster Posey. He's batting .325 with few plate appearances compared to the others, and has a .418 on-base percentage. His OPS is 958 and a WAR of 2.9. He has a D-WAR of .9, which means he's saved .9 games just from his defense. He has 15 home runs. The next player on this list is also surprising, Austin Riley from the Braves. He has an OPS plus of 130, but that shouldn't deceive you. He has a .294 batting average and a .371 on base, an OPS of 903 and a WAR of 3.8, which means he's better than Bryce Harper. He has D-WAR of .5, which means he's actually a pretty good defender. He has 26 home runs. The next player on the list is also from the Braves, Freddy Freeman. He's having a pretty good year, an OPS plus of 131, a batting average 296, and an on-base percentage 394, which is better than his teammate Austin Riley that's already on the list. He has an OPS of 897 and a WAR of 3.3 and a D-WAR of negative .6. He also has 26 home runs, just like his teammate, but unlike his teammate, he is doing bad defensively. Another person who's already won an MVP, this time from 2010, Vado. He is the Cincinnati Reds' first baseman. He has an OPS plus of 137, a batting average of 282, and an on-base percentage of 376, kind of like an average Joey Vado season. He has an OPS of 946, a WAR of 2.2, and most of it is because of his D-WAR at negative .8. He has 26 home runs, just like the previous two players. A player who actually got a chance to play this year, and actually is rewarding the team for letting him play. The Dodgers' first baseman, Max Muncie. He has an OPS plus of 160, a batting average of 273, and an on-base percentage of 405. His OPS is 961, a WAR of 5.4, and a D-WAR of .7. He also has 26 home runs, just like the previous three players. A star player in the MLB yet again has a chance to win the MVP. His name, Juan Soto. He has an OPS plus of 164, a batting average at 303, on-base percentage of 439, which leads the MLB, an OPS of 948, and a WAR of 4.7. His D-WAR is also above 0 at .2. He has 19 home runs. The next player on this list is Bryce Harper. He's already won an MVP, yet he's having another outstanding season. He has an OPS plus of 169, a batting average at 297, an on-base percentage of 415, and an OPS of 989, a WAR of 3.7, and a D-WAR of negative -1, which sucks. He also has 22 home runs, most of which have been solo home runs. The next player on this list is a big chance of winning the NL MVP. We already know who it is, Fernando Tatis, the shortstop for the Padres. He has an OPS plus of 187, which leads the MLB. But it's also shortened by injury, so we don't know if that'll contribute to the MVP race. He has batting average at .299 and an on-base percentage of .376. He has an OPS of 1.053, which leads the MLB. He has a WAR of 5.5 and D-WAR of -0.4. He has 34 home runs and leads the NL with them, but he has 20 errors on the season, and that ties him for most in the MLB. This next player has won a Gold Glove and has a weird style of play which is becoming the new normal, home run or bust. It's a right fielder for the Yankees, Joey Gallo. He was traded to the Yankees this trade deadline from the Rangers. He has an OPS plus of 131, a batting average at .212, and an on-base percentage of .313, a pretty drastic jump. He has an OPS of 710 and a WAR of 4.4. His D-WAR is also at .9. He has 29 home runs on the season. This next player doesn't have a huge chance to win MVP, but it's a small chance, and he could possibly win it with another great month. He has an OPS plus of 137. It's the Red Sox own Xander Bogaerts. He has batting average at .307, a on-base percentage of .376, and an OPS of .889. A WAR of 3.9, which isn't the best, but also another bad thing, a D-WAR of -0.3. It follows with 18 home runs. He could be better, but it's a respectable season for the Red Sox as they are pushing for the AL East crown. This next player is the first baseman for the Athletics. He's bread and butter with Chapman, Matt Olson, with an OPS plus of 162, a .281 batting average, and a .376 on-base percentage, an OPS of 942, and a WAR of 4.7. He does have a -0.1 D-WAR, but I think that's negligible. He has 30 home runs on the season, which is a huge amount, and helping the Athletics push for the wild card spot. This next player had a monster month. He's the second baseman from the Toronto Blue Jays, 130 OPS plus, Marcus Simeon. He has batting average of .269 and an on-base percentage of .336, an .855 OPS, and a 5.2 WAR, which is very great. And then you see his D-WAR at 1.5, which is pretty good. He has 27 home runs, so that on-base percentage and batting average could be attributed to almost a full season of work. This next player is having a breakout year and is the son of a Hall of Famer. He is considered to be first or second in the MVP race for the AL. It's the Toronto Blue Jays' own first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero. He has an OPS plus of 176, which leads the league, and a batting average at .316, an on-base percentage of .413, which also leads the league, and an OPS plus of 1.024, which also leads the league. He has a 5 WAR, but he has a -0.9 D-WAR, which isn't really that negligible. He has 35 home runs on the season, which is second in the MLB. This next player is considered to win the MVP in the AL. He will either come in first or second, but he will make the finalist. It's the Angels' own Shohei He hits at an MVP level with an OPS plus at 164, batting average at .269, on-base percentage at .364, an OPS at 1.008, and a WAR at 4.1. But he is a DH after all, so his D-WAR is bad at -0.8. He leads the MLB in home runs with 39. Don't forget that he also pitches and has an ERA plus of 160, an ERA at 2.93, a WHIP of 1.087, and a FIP of 3.23, which means he's exceeding his expected ERA. He has 112 strikeouts and a 3.4 WAR. But wait, did I say 2 different numbers of WAR? My bad, we're supposed to combine them all. He leads the MLB with 7.5 total WAR because of being a DH and a pitcher. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video. Please consider subscribing. I'd like to say thank you, Jolly Olive, for inspiring me to make this video. I like your content, and so there'll be a link to you in the description.